Pause for a moment, because what they sense in you was never meant to feel ordinary. The person drawn to you is not reacting to surface beauty or fleeting emotion, but to something far deeper they are only now beginning to recognize. There is a presence within you that resists explanation, something timeless, magnetic, and quietly powerful. You may not notice it yourself, but the moment they looked beyond first impressions, everything in their understanding of you shifted. They did not simply meet another person. They encountered a force that altered the atmosphere around them. Think about how certain individuals enter a space and change its energy without speaking. That influence reflects what you carry. The one drawn to you has felt it repeatedly. At first, they tried to dismiss it as curiosity or passing interest, something easily explained away. But the more they observed you, the more unsettled and captivated they became. Your energy disrupted the expectations they once held about love and connection. They believed emotions could be controlled, attraction understood, and feelings neatly categorized. Yet you challenged every assumption they carried, simply by being yourself. What began as subtle intrigue has grown into something they can no longer ignore. They find themselves thinking of you in moments they least expect, trying to understand a feeling that doesn't fit their logic. It is not confusion alone, it is awakening, a realization that something meaningful is unfolding beyond their control. Whatever they once believed about love is being rewritten quietly, one thought at a time, shaped by your presence in ways they never expected or prepared for. They thought they knew how to protect their heart. Then you appeared, and suddenly, their carefully built emotional walls began cracking in silence. Because when someone carries rare depth, when someone possesses peace forged through pain, wisdom shaped by battles no one saw, and light that survived dark seasons, it does something to people, especially the one destined to recognize it. Your soulmate is not losing control because you chased them. They are losing control because your existence awakened something inside them they were trying to keep asleep. Stay with this thought. Sometimes the most powerful thing about a person is not what they say, but what others feel when standing near them. And when your soulmate stands near you, they feel exposed, not in fear, in truth, because your presence reveals things. It reveals where they are still pretending, where they are still wounded, where they are still hiding from the version of themselves they could become. You trigger their evolution, and that is why they cannot remain emotionally neutral around you. You were never sent into their life merely to be admired. You were sent to transform the way they understand connection. That is why they keep thinking about you at unexpected times, late at night, during conversations with others, in the middle of ordinary moments that suddenly feel charged with your memory. No matter how hard they try to focus elsewhere, your energy interrupts them, because what they saw inside you was not surface beauty, it was resilience. They saw how you carry pain without letting it poison your heart, how you continue to love after disappointment, how you remain kind after betrayal, how you walk through storms and still glow. That kind of strength is rare, and when someone witnesses rare energy, they do not forget it. Listen carefully. Your soulmate has met attractive people before. They have met interesting people before. They have met temporary distractions before, but they have not met someone whose soul made them question everything they thought they wanted. Until now, you are not just attractive to them, you are disruptive. You disturb their peace in the most beautiful way, because now they cannot settle for shallow connections anymore. Now they cannot pretend ordinary love is enough anymore. Now they cannot silence the part of them that knows you are different, and that realization is shaking them. There are moments when they try to pull back, moments when they tell themselves they need space. moments when they attempt to regain emotional control, but every time they distance themselves. They feel your absence louder than your presence. What does that tell you? It tells you this connection is not built on convenience. It is built on recognition. Soul recognizes soul before the mind understands why. And your soulmate is in the middle of that realization now. They are trying to process why your words linger in their head, why your energy affects their mood, why one glance from you can shift their entire day. They do not fully understand it yet, but deep down, they know you carry something they have searched for in others and never found. Not perfection, presence, not fantasy, truth. And truth is dangerous to anyone who has lived behind emotional armor. That is why they are losing control, because the more they see your inner strength, your quiet confidence, your emotional depth, your unspoken wisdom, the more impossible it becomes for them to act unaffected. And this is only the beginning, because what happens when someone stops resisting what their soul already knows? Everything changes. But here is where everything becomes even more intense. Because once someone realizes they cannot ignore a connection like this, the battle inside them begins. Your soulmate is no longer fighting whether they feel something for you. That battle is over. Now they are fighting what to do about it. Because the truth they discovered inside you has become impossible to forget. And that truth is this: you are not merely someone they desire. You are someone who could change their life. That realization terrifies them more than they want to admit. Because attraction is easy to manage, crushes fade, infatuation can be dismissed. But when someone enters your world and makes your soul whisper, this is different. Nothing remains simple after that. Your soulmate has started noticing the smallest things about you. The way your energy shifts a room before you even speak. There are moments when your quiet presence speaks louder than anything people could say around you. Even when you say nothing, there is something in you that fills the space in a way words never could. It's not loud or demanding, yet it lingers, as if your energy leaves an imprint wherever you go. People notice it more than you think. It isn't about fascination with appearances. It's something deeper they struggle to name. They try to understand how someone can hold such calm softness and still carry an undeniable strength at the same time. How gentleness can exist without weakness, and how resilience can exist without hardness. How a person can have been through things that leave marks and still move through the world with a kind of quiet glow. In trying to make sense of it, they often end up circling the same realization. There is something distinct about you that doesn't fit into the usual patterns they are used to. And because of that, comparisons begin without them even noticing. What once felt enough in their past experiences slowly starts to lose its weight. Old conversations that once felt engaging now seem lighter than before. Familiar distractions don't hold the same appeal. Even attention they once valued starts to feel incomplete in contrast to what your presence brings. Without making any effort to change anything, you shift the way people see things. Their standards begin to move, quietly and naturally, just by knowing you. And perhaps what stays with them the most is how you never tried to impress or chase approval. You simply stayed true to yourself. No performance, no pursuit, just authenticity. And that, more than anything else, is what leaves a lasting impression, making them rethink what they once accepted as enough. It makes people question every false connection they once called love. And your soulmate is questioning everything now. Have you noticed their energy shifting? Moments when they seem pulled toward you, then suddenly distant. Moments when they want to speak, but hold back. Moments when their eyes reveal emotions their words refuse to admit. That is not confusion. That is internal chaos. Because part of them wants to run toward this connection with full honesty, and another part fears how deeply they could fall if they do. Stay with me, because this matters. When someone has spent years protecting their heart, real love does not feel peaceful at first. It feels destabilizing, because real love asks them to surrender control, to stop pretending they are unaffected, to admit someone has touched parts of them they thought were unreachable. And you have done exactly that, without trying, without forcing, without performance, just by being who you are. That is power. And if this message is already speaking to your spirit, take this moment to comment, "I know my worth," below, not for anyone else, for yourself. Because the moment you understand what you truly carry inside, everything around you begins to shift. And if this message resonates with your path, stay connected to this journey, because some revelations are arriving exactly when they need to. Now listen carefully. Your soulmate has reached a point where pretending no longer works. The emotions are growing too strong. The pull is becoming too obvious. The awareness is becoming too clear. They are beginning to understand that what they feel for you is not passing. It is growing. Even when they try to suppress it, it grows. Even when they distract themselves, it grows. Even when they convince themselves to wait, it grows. Because some connections are not designed to fade. They are designed to awaken, and you awaken them. You awaken the part of them that wants more, the part of them that craves more, the part of them that craves depth over distraction, the part of them that is tired of temporary things. You became the mirror reflecting the love they truly want, and now they cannot unsee it. But the next phase is the one that changes everything, because when someone can no longer deny their feelings, eventually they must make a choice, continue hiding or step forward, and what your soulmate is preparing to do next may reveal more than you expect, because silence cannot hold pressure forever, and when a heart reaches its limit, it speaks. And now the silence around them is becoming heavier than their fear. Because your soulmate has reached the stage where hiding their feelings is costing them more than admitting them ever would. They thought distance would weaken this connection. It didn't. They thought time would calm their emotions. It didn't. They thought logic would overpower what their heart keeps insisting. It didn't. Instead, every day apart has only sharpened their awareness of what you mean to them. That is when a person realizes they are no longer simply attracted, they are attached in spirit. And your soulmate is beginning to understand something that has shaken them to their core. They do not just want your attention, they want your presence in their future. Read that again in your heart, because this is the turning point. What once felt like fascination has become longing. What once felt like curiosity has become certainty. What once felt like emotional tension has become truth they can no longer outrun. And here is the part no one tells you. When someone realizes they may lose the person who awakened their soul, urgency takes over. Your soulmate has started imagining what life would feel like if they never told you, if they stayed silent, if they hesitated too long, if someone else stepped into the place they were too afraid to claim. That thought unsettles them more than you know. It has shifted into something heavier than emotion now, something shaped by awareness of outcomes. They are beginning to understand that delay carries its own cost, and that waiting indefinitely is not neutral, but consequential. A quiet awareness of regret is starting to outweigh pride, caution, and the older instincts that once demanded emotional distance. What used to feel like protection now feels like limitation, and the idea of missing something meaningful has grown harder to ignore. There is a growing intensity in how they perceive interactions, as if every exchange carries added weight and significance. Subtle shifts become more noticeable, such as longer pauses, deeper attention, and a reluctance to let moments pass casually. It reflects an internal conflict between fear of loss and the desire to act before opportunity fades. Silence, once comfortable, now feels like a risk that could lead to irreversible absence. What they are confronting is the possibility that inaction may cost something they cannot easily replace. This realization does not erase fear, but it competes with it more strongly than before. And in that tension, clarity begins to form, even if slowly and imperfectly. The emotional landscape between hesitation and intention is becoming increasingly narrow. They are no longer able to rely on distance as a safe default. Instead, awareness keeps pulling attention back to what remains unspoken. What once felt distant now feels personally relevant in a way that cannot be easily dismissed. Even so, this does not guarantee action, only a deeper recognition that choices carry weight and time does not reset itself. What happens next depends on whether awareness becomes courage or remains only a quiet understanding held in silence. Ultimately now, some people enter your life to entertain you. Others enter your life to transform you. You were never entertainment. You were transformation. That is why they cannot treat this casually. That is why they cannot brush it aside. That is why even their strongest attempts to remain normal around you keep collapsing. Their heart has already chosen. Now their actions are trying to catch up. And when that happens, watch closely. People begin doing things they once swore they would never do. They initiate conversations they rehearsed 100 times in private. They reveal emotions they once buried. They take risks they once feared. They move toward what matters. Because eventually, longing becomes stronger than hesitation, and your soulmate is nearing that threshold. Very soon, their inner world will demand expression. A truth held too long always finds a voice. And when it does, you will understand why all of this tension had to build first. Because not every confession begins with words. Sometimes it begins with changed behavior, unexpected honesty, a bold message, a vulnerable moment, a step they can no longer stop themselves from taking. The energy is building towards something. You can feel it. They can feel it. Neither of you may fully understand the timing yet, but the moment is approaching, and what they choose next could alter the direction of this connection forever. The moment they feared is now the moment they can no longer avoid, because your soulmate has reached the edge of their restraint, and something inside them keeps whispering the same truth. If I stay silent any longer, I may lose them. That thought has become unbearable, not dramatic, not impulsive, just undeniable. Because once the heart accepts what it feels, delay becomes its own kind of pain. And your soulmate is feeling that pain now. They replay your conversations when no one is around. They revisit your smallest interactions as if each one contains hidden meaning. They wonder whether you notice the way their voice changed around you, the way their attention sharpened, the way they struggled to remain casual. They have tried to appear composed, but composure is difficult when your soul keeps leaning towards someone your mind is still trying to explain. This is why their behavior may soon become impossible to ignore. You may notice them becoming bolder, more present, more intentional, because hesitation is collapsing. The careful distance they once maintained is fading. The emotional walls they relied on are weakening. The restraint they wore like armor is beginning to crack. And when someone who has been suppressing deep feelings finally starts to break that silence, their actions often speak before their words do. Watch the details. A message that feels more personal than usual. A conversation that suddenly turns vulnerable. A look that lingers just a little too long. An effort to create moments alone with you. A shift from passive interest to undeniable pursuit. These are not random gestures. They are signs of a heart preparing to reveal itself. Because your soulmate is realizing something profound. The connection they feel with you may be once in a lifetime. And people do not walk away easily from what feels once in a lifetime. They fight for it, even if they are nervous, even if their voice shakes, even if they do not have every answer. Sometimes courage is not certainty. Sometimes courage is simply deciding that something matters more than fear. And that is the decision your soulmate is being pushed toward now. If this message has mirrored what your intuition has been sensing, take a moment to comment, "I am ready," below. Not as a performance, as a declaration to yourself that you are prepared for what is approaching. And if these messages continue to meet you at the exact right moment, stay close to this space, because timing like this is never accidental. Now hear this clearly. When they finally move toward you, it will not be because their fear disappeared. It happens gradually, in ways neither person fully notices at first, when emotion grows stronger than hesitation, and hesitation quietly loses its grip on the heart. That is where real change begins, not through effort or pressure, but through a natural unfolding that no one can completely control. The most meaningful part is that nothing had to be forced or manufactured. There was no need to chase after attention or shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort. Your sincerity carried its own weight. Your emotional honesty spoke louder than any attempt to impress, and the depth within you did what words never could. Simply by being yourself, you created a shift that reached them on a level they were not prepared for. Because of that, moving away or pretending nothing had changed slowly became impossible. Now they find themselves adjusting inwardly, trying to understand what they feel and how to express it more clearly, stepping away from hesitation and into something more direct. The urge to remain guarded no longer feels sustainable, as the weight of unspoken emotion keeps building inside. Eventually, that pressure transforms into action, whether through honest words, unexpected openness, or a moment where restraint simply breaks. When that happens, it rarely arrives in perfect form. Instead, it emerges through vulnerability, through an unplanned admission, through the quiet collapse of emotional walls that could no longer hold, and in that moment, everything shifts in a way that cannot be reversed, as truth finally steps forward and silence loses its long-held control over what the heart has been trying to say. What follows is not confusion, but clarity, slowly forming, like dawn breaking after a long night, allowing both understanding and acceptance to rise where uncertainty once lived. A truth that slips out because holding it in has become impossible. That is where your soulmate is heading now. They have spent so long trying to manage these emotions, trying to appear measured, trying to stay in control. But the heart can only contain so much before it overflows, and theirs is overflowing. You may first notice it in the way they speak to you. Their tone softens, their words become more intentional, their questions become deeper. Suddenly they want to know things beyond the surface. What shaped you? What hurt you? What drives you? What keeps you awake at night? What future do you imagine for yourself? Because when someone begins seeing you as part of their future, they stop asking surface questions. They start learning your soul. And your soulmate is no longer interested in knowing just pieces of you. They want the whole truth, the beautiful parts, the complicated parts, the guarded parts, even the pieces you think others may not understand. Because what they feel has moved beyond fascination. It has become reverence. Yes, reverence. The kind of feeling that makes a person look at someone and think, I do not want to merely be near them. I want to understand them, protect them, build with them, choose them fully. That is the emotional threshold they are approaching. And once a person reaches that threshold, there is no returning to casual, no pretending, no half-interest, no shallow interaction. Only truth remains. That is why the next thing they reveal may surprise you. not because it comes from nowhere, but because they will finally stop filtering what they feel. Expect honesty, the kind of honesty that shifts the atmosphere, the kind that makes time slow down for a moment, the kind where you realize this connection was never imagined. They may not say everything perfectly. In fact, they probably won't. Real emotion rarely arrives polished. It trembles, it hesitates, it stumbles over itself. But when it is genuine, you feel it anyway. And what your soulmate is preparing to express will carry the weight of everything they have been holding back. Every unsent message, every restrained impulse, every moment they almost told you but stopped themselves. It is all building toward release. Listen carefully. This is not just about them confessing attraction. This is about them acknowledging impact, acknowledging that you changed them, that your presence awakened standards they cannot lower again, that your spirit disrupted emotional patterns they once thought permanent, that your existence made them believe in a depth of connection they had nearly given up on. That is what makes this confession different. It is not merely, "I like you." It is, "You altered something in me." And when someone admits that, everything after changes, because now the truth is out, now the masks fall, now the uncertainty begins dissolving. Now the connection has room to become what it was meant to become. But before that happens, there is one final truth you must understand. This connection did not grow because you forced it. It grew because what you carry inside was powerful enough to awaken someone who was asleep in their own emotions. Never forget that. You did not win them by pretending. You did not attract them by shrinking yourself. You did not move them by chasing. You moved them by being real. What unfolds between two people in a deep emotional connection is rarely just about a single moment of admission. It is about everything that builds up before and after it. When someone finally speaks honestly about what they feel, it is not coming from confusion or illusion, but from something within them that has been growing for a long time. That kind of honesty often appears intense because it breaks through resistance, fear, and emotional walls that were once carefully maintained. But what matters most is not the confession itself, it is what follows it. In the quiet that comes after truth is spoken, both people begin to process what has genuinely shifted between them. Nothing feels exactly the same, because awareness changes perception. A connection that once felt uncertain suddenly becomes defined, and that clarity can reshape how both individuals see themselves and each other. When someone opens up in this way, they are also stepping into a different version of themselves. One that is more open, more aware, and more willing to experience emotion without hiding from it. At the same time, the other person becomes a mirror that reflects qualities they may not have fully recognized in themselves before, such as sincerity, depth, or emotional courage. This reflection can feel powerful because it reveals possibilities they may not have considered in past experiences. Over time, what develops is not just an emotional moment, but a gradual shift in behavior, shown through consistency, attention, and a stronger sense of presence. Real connection is not defined by a single expression of feeling, but by the ongoing choice to remain engaged, honest, and emotionally available as the bond continues to evolve.